walnut floating nightstands with brass and epoxy inlay. Ah! Oh. All right, so I'm not gonna bore you or me with the milling process of all this lumber, but what I have here are 2 panels glued up, 3/4 inch thick, about 60 inches long. Then I'm gonna slice these up for the case of our nightstands. Over here I have 2 drawers, which I will show you how I made. And then these are the 2 drawer fronts with the epoxy and brass inlay, which we'll take a special trip to Massachusetts to visit my buddy Paul at Copper Pig Fine Woodworking, where I'll show you how we made these. But first, let's get our parts laid out for our actual nightstand boxes, and then get them mitered and cut on, I don't know if we'll use the table saw or the track saw. So what I think I'm gonna do on this, I'm gonna make my miter cuts on one all the way down, and then take those pieces to the table saw and cut the miter on the other side. And now we can start putting carbide to wood. So I make my first miter cut. As you can see on that piece, there's already a miter cut made. I made a test cut and checked it with a combination square just to make sure I was at 45. And then I just laid out my parts down my panel, flip down the track, and make the cut. Now I didn't just willy-nilly make cuts right on down the panel. I did lay them out ahead of time, figuring out where my top would be and my sides and my bottom to maximize the grain pattern and how it would look. Obviously you want the top and the sides to look the best. The bottom, well, I mean, I like a nice bottom, but it's not really important on this one. Now, another method you may remember me using for cutting mitered boxes like this is to use a giant chamfer bit on the router table, which actually does work great. I just don't really know why I didn't use it on this one. So with my first miters cut on all my pieces, I headed over to the table saw, set that to 45, and then made all my other cuts. Now the reason this works well is because once the fence is set for a certain width, then I can cut all my sides to the same width, and the same thing with the top and bottom. And when you look at that, I needed the dang chamfer bit anyway. Well, here's where I'm putting a little chamfer detail on the inside edges of the fronts of all the pieces, like so. That just gives a nice softer edge detail, and the drawer fronts will be recessed back to be flush with the end of that chamfer. Now there are many different options out there for joining the 45-degree miters of these cases. You could use dowels, biscuits, dominoes. You could reinforce them with splines. You could use just glue, which, well, I don't really recommend that because there you have an end grain to end grain glue joint, which is pretty much the weakest one out there. I am using the Lamello Zeta P2 and their Clamex P14 connectors. Now I understand this tool is very expensive, so it's not in everybody's toolkit, but the other options that I mentioned are perfectly acceptable for these. But truth be told, I am a Lamello dealer, so I like to showcase how it can be used not only in cabinetry, but also in furniture. And as you can see, at the end of each of those slots is a notch, and this is created when the blade plunges at the end and wobbles up and down, creating that notch, allowing the connectors to slide in and not be pulled straight out. And here I'm drilling for the access holes for the Allen key to turn the cam clamp on those Clamex connectors. And then under the careful supervision of Shopcat Jerry, I inserted all my connectors, male and female, into all my parts so I could do a quick dry assembly to check all my joinery before I start slinging any adhesive. All right, buddy boy, let's slide it on over. I got stuff to do here. And with Mr. Always in the Wrong Place at the wrong time out of the way, I could put the top on and double check the fit of the entire case together. And it looks like Jerry has a little piece of styrofoam clinger hanging on there. That's classy, buddy. One final turn and that miter squeezes together. A quick check for square and we're good to go. And for this glue up, I'm using Total Boat's Thick-So thickened epoxy. Number one, it gives me a little more open time. And number two, I like to squeeze a little bit into the slots with the Clamex connectors just to give that a little bit more strength once everything is tightened. And then I can just work my way around, assembling each miter, tightening each of the Clamex cams, and no clamps needed. I like that. Now to the naked eye, my miters look nice and tight, but I'm just using a burnishing tool here very lightly just to push those miters together in case there were any small gaps that I couldn't see. I mean, my vision isn't quite what it used to be. I let that dry overnight, and then I could come back with the sander and realize what an absolute slob I was and get rid of all that epoxy residue all over the cases. And then using a block plane, I could remove any planer marks that were on there, as well as just making sure that those corners were perfectly flush. And then I finished up with a sanding block. And if you notice in the corners, I go in a circular motion, because if you come at those corners in each direction, you'll end up with scratches because the grains are meeting in the corner in opposite directions. And a quick blast of air gets rid of all that sawdust debris. And then to fill some of those pesky knots, I use Total Boat's high-performance resin with a black dye. Total Boat, baby! Yes, indeed, that is correct. And while that was curing, we could get to work on the drawers. I already milled my stock to 5/8 of an inch thick, and now we could cut everything to length using a stop block on my table saw sled. I will be using Blum undermount slides for these drawers, and since the slides are 12 inches long, that means my drawer needs to be 12 inches deep. The width of the drawer is determined by the opening in the actual case. That opening was 17.5 inches. I subtract 3/8, and that gives me 17 1/8 for the actual width of my drawer. And there be my drawer parts. Now, like most drawers, these needed a bottom. Unfortunately, I only had 1/8 inch thick walnut plywood, so I needed to make it a little bit thicker. So I milled up some walnut that was 1/8 of an inch thick, glued those up into little panels, and once those were dry, I could make my own 1/4 inch plywood. And for this, I employed the use of my vacuum bag so I could get nice, even pressure all the way across those panels. I let that sit in there for about an hour or two just to set up nicely, and then I pulled it out and let it fully cure. And while those were doing their thing, I needed to cut the grooves in the side of all my drawer parts to accept the actual bottom that we just made. So I used a 1/4 inch dado stack set to 1/2 of an inch above the bottom. That is the clearance that you need for the Blum undermount clips. Did a quick test fit on a scrap piece. That looks good. So I have all my drawer parts laid out and numbered just so I put them in the correct position. I also always mark where there's going to be a slot cut so I don't cut it in the wrong position. I also have all my layout lines marked so everything is in alignment. And like the mitered cases, I'm going to use the Clamex connectors on these, and I actually made an Instagram video on this, so I'm just going to let that roll. Oh man, that got my blood pumping. So, let's get the blood pumping even more with an actual real-life glue-up. Here we go. And with all those holiday calories to burn off, I grew a beard, hopped on my bike, and headed north to Boston to visit my buddy Paul at Copper Pig Fine Woodworking, where we're going to do a little brass powder and epoxy inlay for these drawer fronts. Now, Paul had already used a similar design on one of his tea boxes. This is a Japanese Asanoha pattern, but I modified it slightly to fit my drawer front size. He laid it out on his computer there and showed an actual rendering of what it's going to look like on the CNC, and we got to cutting. And to do this, we're using a 3/64 spiral downcut bit from Bits and Bits. And to make sure we get the cleanest cut possible, this was done in 2 passes at 0.045 inches deep each. And man, look how beautiful that turned out. And then to clean up some of the fuzz in those cuts, we use a little soft brush on the drill before hitting it with the orbital sander. Total Boat, baby! And then it was time to mix up some brass powder with Total Boat high-performance epoxy. We're using the slow hardener here, which allows the material time enough to hopefully excavate any air bubbles in there. I'm also adding some masking tape around the drawer fronts to basically act as a dam in case any of this epoxy wants to leak all over the place. And once we had a nice thick consistency with as much brass powder in there as possible, we could pour it all over the drawer fronts. And a great tip from Paul in this process is to use a heat gun, which decreases increases the viscosity in the epoxy, allowing it to flow into all the cracks and hopefully not leave any air bubbles behind. And then we can let those dry overnight. And the next day, hit Paul's helical planer with a few passes, very light passes, until we just get down to the surface. Now, we did have some pinholes left behind, some air bubbles, so we fill that with some Starbond CA glue and brass powder, and then sand all these fronts, going up progressively in the grits. I'll show more of this process when I get back to my shop and show what grits I use, but in the meantime, just a light coat of finish to show what this is going to look like when it's done. Woohoo! Man, does that look sharp. Then I saddled back up on the bike and headed to New Jersey. And the first thing I did back at my shop was to trim these drawer fronts to rough size, which was basically the exact size of the opening of the nightstand. And then I'll custom fit these to each opening a little bit later. Now, before I hit these fine grits, I did go 150, 220, 320, 400, and then 600, 800, 1200, 1500, 2000, and then the magical steel wool to really bring out that luster. And then a quick wipe with some mineral spirits, and it reveals this. Now, while I cut the French cleats for these nightstands, I just want to mention that Paul, in his process, only goes 150, 320, 800, and then to steel wool, which, to be honest, does produce a better result because what I did ended up burnishing the surface too much, and the finish didn't absorb as well as it should have. Now, to size these French cleats exactly, I placed it roughly over the opening, used my pencil to mark some lines, and then headed over to the miter saw to cut them to final length. I'm going to use pocket screws to attach these to the case, so I just mark out for where I want those to be drilled, and then I could drill said holes. And to allow easier access to finish the inside of the cases, I'm going to attach these French cleats at the end. And speaking of finish, here we go. I'm using Rubio Monocoat walnut for these, and as you can see, I taped off where the French cleat is going to go. That way the finish doesn't interfere with the glue at all. And my typical process for this is to spread on the hard wax oil, let that sit for 5 or 10 minutes, recoat if necessary if there's any areas that soak in more than others, and then wipe clean with a microfiber cloth. Now, the reason I like to use the actual walnut color of the Rubio on this is because this is air-dried walnut, and I found when I use the pure, it ambers it up too much and gets a little too yellow. The walnut color darkens it a little bit and keeps the color a little bit more consistent. I let that dry for a day or so, and then I could start fitting the drawer fronts to the actual openings. So using some double-sided tape, I grabbed some scrap wood and stuck those on the side, which would allow me to place the drawer front without it falling to the bottom. Then using 3/32 inch spacers, I fit the drawer front top and bottom, slide the drawer front all the way over to one edge, and then using a 3/16 of an inch spacer, which is 3/32 times 2 for each side, draw a line, and then head over to the miter saw to trim it to final length. And then a little test fit to make sure everything looks good. Once I'm happy with that, I do need to sand out the saw marks that the miter saw made on the end grain of these fronts. So to do this, I'm going to clamp on 2 sacrificial pieces onto my workpiece. This prevents the sander from tipping and rounding over that edge. And then, using a sanding block, I just quickly break those edges on all the corners. And then it was time to install the French cleats, so with a little bit of glue and a couple clamps just to secure it in place before I start driving those pocket screws home. If you use pocket screws before, you know sometimes if it's not clamped in place and you screw it home, it wants to slide on you, especially with glue. Jerry, what are you? I don't know why he likes to bite these clamps so much. He's just trying to help. And then using my right angle attachment on my drill, which allows you to get into very tight spots, I could drive these screws home. And then I could continue on with the Rubio process, applying it to the drawer fronts, and you can see I have my other French cleats drying there on the rack as well. And even though the drawer bottoms are kind of plywood that I made, I'm still going to cut an expansion slot in the back of the drawer bottom, which will allow expansion and contraction of that bottom within the groove in the bottom of the drawer. And with that done, I could finish the assembly of the drawers, sliding those bottoms in, and then screwing in that screw. Yeah, I guess that's what you normally do with a screw. You screw it in. And then I could also install the locking mechanisms underneath the bottom of the drawer. I'm using this Rockler Jigget, which is an extremely handy little jig for getting the right hole placement for these parts. So I can pre-drill all those holes and then screw them home. And if you flip the jig over, it can also be used to pre-drill the hole for the little notch thing in the back of the slides. And since I didn't want any visible hardware on these drawer fronts, I'm using the Blum push to open mechanisms, which have a left and a right, and it just takes a little bit of love reading the directions to figure out how these things mount in the actual drawer slides, but once you figure it out, it's pretty easy-ish. Warning, some force may be required. And once I had those mounted on the slides, I could mount the slides. As you can see here, that sits down below a little bit, which rubs on the bottom, so I just put some shims underneath to raise everything up, drilled my holes, and I figured out my setback needed to be about 1 1/8 for whatever reason. It takes into account the drawer front and the actual slide. It was a little trial and error, to be honest, because I didn't have the Blum specification book in front of me. Now, typically, when mounting drawer fronts, I just use some double-sided tape to get them into position, but I decided to try these Blum drawer mounting adjusters. And the first step is to drill a couple 20mm holes in your drawer front, well, the back of your drawer front, and then you can insert these little pitons. I put a little washer in there just to raise it up above the surface just a little bit, and then using your little spacer shims, you can put the drawer front in and get it positioned right where you want it, and then with the tap of a mallet and another tap, you can leave the impression of those little pitons in your drawer front, and then drill some pilot holes for the mounting screws. And since it was such a tight fit, I needed a magnet to get those out of there, and then I could bang home the actual plastic or nylon adjusters. And the great thing about these is once you get them mounted, there is still adjustability up and down, as you can see there, so you can position them where you want. That's a pretty cool little feature. So I get a good look at it in the opening, move it, adjust it, and then tighten it down, and as you can see, a nice even reveal all the way around. And then using some screws, I can permanently drive those home so they don't move. And yes, there still is some adjustment in the drawer slides and the locking mechanisms, but it is nice to have it as close to dialed in as possible and only make those adjustments if necessary. And then I could get these mounted on the wall on the French cleats. And as you can see, there's no bed, even though they're nightstands. Well, I still have to build that. And what you saw at the beginning, me dropping one right off the French cleat, that did happen. Yeah, it was quite a moment because I did it right after I took these pictures. So here's what it looks like now, and I'll have to figure out some way to fix it. But in the meantime, let's go over the cost of this project. Walnut, drawer slide, CNC time, Rubio, and the total $490 in materials. So it appears because the drawer was extended all the way, plus that this was out so far from the wall that it just cantilevered right off the French cleat. So let that be a lesson to you and me.